everyone, this is P4L. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at the newest release from Mastermind Creations and their reformatted line. This is their R31 Ater Beta, the Gunman, or Deadlock, the I guess previous version, or the original, I don't know what you want to call it, version of Drift, also known as Deadlock, so when he was kind of like a Decepticon. So this is the first version of this mold. We are going to get the traditional, Autobot version that we kind of come to know and love through the IDW series, More Than Meets the Eye. Even though it is kind of the older version, this is from kind of like the Drift backstory, not what we really see his alt mode and robot mode as far as the main storyline. In any case, let's get started with packaging review. Same deal with MMC. We get the same kind of standard box, no window or anything like that. You do get the nice render up front, and as usual, some pictures here and here. So one thing I noticed right away, and you'll see when we get into it, is that there's actually differences in the head sculpt colors. So you can see kind of like his eyebrow area is colored gray here, and you can see that here in the same picture, but in the actual product and the product photos, he doesn't have that. So I think that was actually a mistake, which kind of is a shame because he does look much better with that. In any case, when we get to the top and bottom, you don't really get anything new. On the back is where you get kind of the promo shots. You get one small picture of his alt mode, kind of like a futuristic car mode. So it's not like a flying vehicle like their Alpha was. But you can see his various different poses that he can do, the front and back. He's very clean overall, aside from maybe his butt flap and his scabbards. But the scabbards are pretty iconic to the character. So once we get him out of packaging, you get a number of different things. So you get him in his clamshell. He comes packaged in alt mode. We'll just leave that. Oh, if it can stand up, we'll leave that like that. You get his instructions, his plastic stack card or bio card, whatever you want to call it. You can see here. See, on this here, they also don't have it colored. So it's kind of inconsistent. I'm not really sure. I think the gray eyebrows are more accurate in terms of the original version of the character. All right. I'm not going to go ahead and show you the comic book, but the flip side is a comic book. You can read for yourself. I'm not going to spoil any of that, but he does have a set of instructions, which are pretty good. Some are actually just downright wrong. Like, I don't know what they're talking about here. I think they got this mixed up with some of the portions up here. But yeah, some steps are missing, so pay attention. And one of the cool things is they show some of the renders of the early prototypes, which honestly, they look kind of janky. Like his face looks really bad and everything like that. But some people like this alt mode a lot better. So it's kind of cool that we get to see that for the Alpha and Stray. Okay, in addition to that, he does come with a set of accessories. So this one is the standard one that you get with all of them, but he also has a clear translucent red one that comes with Stray or Ater Beta. Ater Beta, yeah, Ater Beta. If you were to get him from Planet Steel Express, this is their exclusive version. So it's the same mold, it's just in translucent red. Alright, so we'll put that off to the side, and then you get two chromed swords, which go into his scabbards. And these are really nice. So they're dark chromed, which I think looks really nice as opposed to the silver chrome that he had before. But we'll get into these in just a little bit. Open up the clamshell, and here we have Ater Beta in his alt mode. And it's a nice looking alt mode. Like I said, I think I said before when I was reviewing their Alpha that I actually thought originally that I was gonna like this version of the mold better, because he is a pretty decently heavy remold of their Alpha figure. But I ended up actually liking their Stray better, their Alpha better. So give me 1 second. Really quickly, I'll bring out Stray again. You probably can't tell all that much, especially in the alt mode, that they're very heavy retools of each other. But you'll see like this part is just reshaped, this canopy is reshaped. The most obvious portion is his backpack piece, how it tabs in. And then it becomes much more apparent on the bottom. But yeah, you can see they're very, very different. I really dig this alt mode though. All right, but doing a quick 360, he does look really nice. One of the things that I wish they had done that I think is more accurate to the character itself is instead of having all these gray pieces, that they were always a little bit more purplish instead of just, you know, straight gray. And I think especially in the robot mode, it would have benefited from having like a little bit of a purple hue to that. I mean, this dark, it does, I guess this dark, I don't even know what to call it, like a navy purple. It's a really dark blue, I would say. That color does have a little bit of purple in it, but I really think the gray should have had a purple hue to it as well. So in alt mode, he does have some wheels that spin, so the back wheels spin. The front wheels, only the inner part spins, and they don't spin very well. So you're not going to get a really nice, you're going to get like a sliding motion on the front wheels. Not a big deal though. He does have the opening canopy, or cockpit, whatever you want to call it. I guess the cockpit, or yeah, for a car. On the bottom, he does have some storage for his swords. So you'll see these two tabs and these two slots here, same as with my review of their alpha. The exact same molding here, so they store the exact same way. He doesn't have a sword, so you don't have this weird kind of storage for the sword down here. You just have actually a gun instead. And the gun, you can store it in alt mode in a pretty meaningful way, so you can actually tab them to the back, so he has a pretty decent weaponized alt mode. And obviously if you wanted to do it with your exclusive version of the gun, you can do that as well. It's the same mold, obviously. But that's really it for his alt mode. We did a quick comparison with his mold mate, but as usual, we'll bring in Streak. Yeah. He's a pretty big Cybertronian car. So let's go ahead and get into transformation. Transformation is pretty simple on this guy, but it's really unique. So you're going to untab this front bumper piece here, and then you're going to rotate this whole wheel section down and in, and that kind of hides itself. From here, oh, actually, we should take out the swords first. That would make the most sense. You definitely can't transform this with the sword stored. So from here, you're going to untab here and here. So just pull on this, what is this toe? Pull back here, and then you're going to pull down on the thigh here, so it rotates down, because there's a tab that goes into this part here, which it will end up being the scabbard. You're going to want to straighten out the leg, and it tabs in here, so it locks into place. The foot, what I like to do first is go ahead and move this back, straighten out the toe, and then bring around the ankle on this ball joint, and then you flip the heel, not all the way, but a little bit so that you have it all flush with the bottom of the foot. And that's it for that side. Same thing on the other side. We've already done this bumper piece. We'll just untab this, pull it out, pull this down, straighten it, get this little shin piece up, toe straightened, heel straightened. And there we go. Next, instead of working on the midsection, we're actually going to scooch up all the way to the upper body. So the upper body here, first thing we need to do is come to the top roof section. We're going to pull up on that and untab these two tabs here. We're going to pull open these two flaps. Just keep them like that for now. Now we're going to go to the back section, or rear wheel section here. We're going to want to pull out on this. There's a tab that goes into the side here, and then the ball joint swings around on the hinge. From here, you're going to want to pull the arms out and down, straighten out the arms, rotate them 90 degrees outwards, and then rotate the fist as well to get it all in alignment. Same thing here, just a lot of rotating. You don't have to rotate the fist if you don't want to in transformation when you go back, but I like to do it. I think it looks a little bit better. And then the last thing you have to do, you want to come back around these wheels, actually fill in this gap. So you want to have it situated so this round part's facing up. Is that correct? No, round part's facing down, sorry. And then you want to fold this wheel down So again, this rounded part facing down, you fold that in. I kind of wish this clipped in or something like that, or locked into place. It can just kind of rotate freely and kind of look kind of weird. It's supposed to kind of stay like flat like that, but as far as I can tell, there's no locking mechanism for that. All right, so then you can kind of straighten out the arms as such. From here, pull up the canopy. You'll see a series of tabs here. Pull apart the two halves, and then just push on the top here to rotate them around his sides. And you can get them angled backwards like that. And you do a 180-degree turn at the waist. All right. From here, you want to open up this chest, push back on that backpack piece, rotate that all the way around to reveal his head. Close up the chest. You want to close up his back. He has a bit of a peg port system back here. And once that's done, you can fold in these gray tabs again to fill in the sides and lock everything in place. And with that, you're done with your transformation of Deadlock or Beta. I guess what we can do real quickly is demonstrate how the swords work. The swords can go into either scabbard and they lock into place pretty well, or you can have him hold them in either hand, obviously. The gun can also fit on or in either hand. You just close them up and holds it very securely, as long as you close up the fists. Yeah. And then on the back, with this hip skirt, you can leave the hip skirt down on this double hinge, or you can kind of lift it up higher. It really depends on what your aesthetics are, what your preferred aesthetics are. But go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and leave it down. You can still store the gun or a second gun on the back using that same port. You're just gonna flip it the other way. And I find that if you rotate this hinge out a bit, this was used to store the sword for the other version of this mold, but if you just tilt it out a little bit and then port it in, I think it looks a lot better. It stays kind of flush on his back, or at least parallel to his back if you tilt it out a little bit. And it doesn't look bad for weapon storage. Let's just get this out of the way for now. And then we'll go into some articulation after we look at his face. I'm going to get the swords out of the way. So looking at his face, like I said, I think it's a really good sculpt. I think it looks very much like what we're used to with Deadlock. Nice kind of, I guess, mustardy, yellow, gold details on his forehead and on the side of his face. But it really would, his red eyes really would have popped like you see over here. If you had those gray accents on the eyebrows, which is a shame. I really would have liked that. As far as articulation goes, his head is on a ball joint. He has very limited like downward movement though, so he can barely look straight on. I really would have liked a little bit of downward movement. Upwards, he gets very little as well. He gets the side bubble, but he can rotate all the way around. A quick note, when you transform him back, you do have to have his face facing forward, which does do that visible head syndrome when you look at him from the bottom. However, you can't rotate it this way to kind of hide it because the way the spiky crest parts are. So unfortunately, you can't do that. He does have a shoulder hinge that goes up. It gives him good range on the shoulders. And then he has a big honked ball joint, which is nice and stiff. So you can get, oh, sorry, knocked that off. But you can get kind of like butterfly action going on with the nice ball joints, up and down. He does have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which get a good amount of bend. He has ball jointed wrists, so the ball joint is actually on the hand itself that plugs into the hole in his wrist. His fingers are standard MMC hands where the pointer finger is one molded piece on a pin, and the three other fingers here are all molded in one piece. As we saw in transformation, he does have a 180 degree or 360 degree waist swivel. He has a butt flap on a double hinge. He has these scabbards, which are on a hinge that go back and forth about 90 degrees. But they also have ball joints as well, which give you a good amount of articulation and posability. So you can have them kind of hiding away if you want, or vertical, horizontal, whatever you'd like. His hip skirts do kind of flip up to give you access to his waist joint or hips. So you can go out about 90 degrees, go back 90 degrees, and go out 90 degrees. He does have a thigh swivel, which looks like you can go, yeah, all the way around 360 degrees. I don't like the designs of, you know, rotation at this kind of joint, especially when the thighs are blocky, because it breaks up the look. So that's kind of a bummer. He does have double jointed knees though, which is really nice because you can get all the way bent down. So you can get probably really nice kneeling poses. I didn't think to do that before, but yeah, you can get him kneeled down pretty well. If he had a little bit more forward motion on the hips, he would get a much deeper or more natural looking kneeling position. But I think it's definitely more than enough. He does have ball joints on these weird knee pads, and so they can fold up straight or kind of point out. I do find them a little bit annoying because even though they're decently stiff, it would have been nice if they kind of locked into place or something like that. I often find myself like just pushing them around when I do some posing. Down here, he has a weird shin joint that is obviously unnatural, but I guess you can use it for posability if you want. It's really for transformation. And then he has a ball joint at the ankles that go into the actual foot itself, which gives you a ton of range. His heel, again, can move up and down a bit. It gives you a little bit of stability on the backside, depending on what kind of poses you do. And then the toe itself is also on a ball joint. So if you want, you can get it rotated all the way around, flipped all the way up. Not really any downward movement though, or range. But with that, I think that's it with his robot mode range. I guess I should take a quick cut here and bring in Alpha to show you some changes in the mold itself. So give me 1 second. So here we are with Alpha. And you can see here they do share a lot of the same molding, especially in the frame itself, the arms, the thighs, and so forth. But a lot of the other details, like the foot, is pretty similar aside from the heel. But if you looked at them initially, you might think they are a different mold, but it's just a heavy retool. But you can see they both share the big shoulder syndrome from this mold, which is per the design of the comics, but I always thought that was kind of funny how big their shoulders were. You can see the scabbards, very similar except in length. Different butt flaps, but butt flap still exists. So, yeah. So that's really it for robot mode. So let's go ahead and do transformation back and we'll finish off the review. Alright, so the first thing we'll do is deal with the upper body. Let's go ahead and open up these side pieces. Open up the chest. We're going to want to fold these gray pieces in. And again, you got to keep the head facing this way. Folding it the other way, these pieces here will get in the way. So rotate it around, close this back up, and keep this kind of hanging out for now. While we're here, let's go ahead and do the upper body. Rotate that around for now. And because some of this stuff gets in the way, let's deal with the scabbards. Just kind of fold them flat. And again, do the opposite, just pull them closed. Do the corresponding tabs on both sides. And then on this double hinge, make sure to push it all the way back. And tab in the 4 tabs there. All right. Coming around to the underside of the arms. First thing we'll do is flip open these wheels. rotate the arms inwards 90 degrees and bend at the elbow. And again, here I like to rotate the fist, but it really doesn't matter. I'll keep one rotated and I'll keep one, I'll rotate one and keep one as it was. You'll see the difference in just a second. And then from here, use the double hinged, well, one hinged shoulder and the ball joint to go ahead and tab in to the side here. On both sides. See, the only reason I like rotating it like this is so that you don't see the hand opening here. So that's why I go ahead and just give that a short rotate. Makes it a cleaner backside. Not that anyone's really going to look there. These two tabs, just fold them into these two slots, and then we're mostly done. Now we just have to deal with the lower body. Scooch this down a bit. First thing we'll do is, straighten out the heel, fold it up on that ball joint, rotate this shin piece down like so, and then rotate the toe down, and you can see it kind of makes a rectangular piece here. You want to go ahead and pull out on the lower leg outwards so it bends here. This it's going to be hard to see, but this slot on the back of the hip or upper thigh has a corresponding tab on the underside of the scabbard. So just rotate that up first, make sure you get that tabbed in. Then you want to bring this around. There's a tab here on both sides of the car, as well as a tab on this section of the shoulder that corresponds to the toe. So you kind of want to get all this in place. So do the thigh piece first, then this leg piece, and then finally the toe to get everything kind of situated. Lastly, pull out this knee piece, rotate it around, and then pull up on this entire section to reveal the wheel, and this tabs in on the front. All right, same thing on the other side. Straighten out the heel, straighten out the foot, extend this gray piece, and then rotate the toe down. Again, making that kind of rectangular section. Bend it at the knee, bring this around, and then tab in the toe. Bring up the bumper, and tab it in. And with that, you're basically done. We'll go ahead and reinsert these swords. And I don't know if it's just me or it feels like these swords tab in a little bit more securely than the version of Alpha. And then we'll go ahead and tab in one of the guns. And with that, we're back in alt mode. So final thoughts. I do like this mold. Again, it's probably my lesser favorite of the two molds, remolds of this version. I do like Alpha better, but I do like the fact that they're giving us the Deadlock version. Again, with the colors, I would have liked it to be a little bit more purple than gray, or have a little bit more purple in the gray. But by and large, I think they did a really good job of making these two molds pretty distinct, and while still being fairly accurate to the source material from the IDW comics. I really want a more IDW More Than Meets the Eye version, though, of Drift. I don't know why a lot of companies have been using the Drift kind of one-shot backstory for his mode, because he doesn't use it nearly as often as he does the two other modes that he has in More Than Meets the Eye, kind of the more slick versions. And then when Drift comes back, spoiler alert, he comes back in something like issue like 50 or 52 or something like that, when he gets Ratchet and it comes back. Or Ratchet finds him and comes back and he has a slightly redone version. I like those versions of the Drift design better, so I would really like a company to go ahead and do that. I definitely recommend them if you're a fan of the More Than Meets the Eye or IDW series. It fits in really well with the reformatted line. Alright, if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you liked the video and it helped you out with transformation or your decision to buy one, please give it a thumbs up, share, or subscribe, or any of the above. And as always, I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a good one.